What's up, everybody? So, you know how we do a podcast every other Tuesday, kind of? Turnbuckle Tuesdays. We talk about wrestling history, news, rumors, events, random topics, things like that. Well, the news and rumors and events parts are kind of eating up into a lot of the time. So, welcome to episode 1 of Turnbuckle Tuesdays, News and Rumors Roundup. This is where we're going to take our off-week news. This is the week after the podcast, and we're going to talk about the news that has come out since the podcast, rumors, anything like that has come across from Fightful, from Cultaholic, from WrestleMania, from What Culture, from Cage Side Seats, WWE themselves, AEW themselves, official announcements, and Twitter posts or anything else that would be considered news or rumors. This is episode 1. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. Before we get started talking about AEW, we are going to have a conversation. Did you know that the News and Rumor Roundup isn't the only off-week show that we here at Turnbuckle Tuesdays are currently doing? That's right, folks. We have another event-focused show called After the Bell, where we look at pay-per-views, premium live events, or even regular TV airings that happen on our off week. So this could be everything from Dynamite's, Raws, SmackDowns, AAA shows, CMLL, anything that I think is going to really be cool to talk about or has real impact on professional wrestling or even just impact on current storylines we're going to talk about. The first episode is available now. Click down there. That video right there, that's episode 1. Or you can go down to the description and there will be a link to episode 1 for After the Bell. You can check that out as well. Our first episode for that does deal with the July 8th AEW Dynamite Beach Break episode. And the reason we're talking about it now is because we are going to talk about some things that happened in Beach Break, but we're also going to start with our AEW news. There are some things that did happen that need to be mentioned as updates to storylines and business in general, going into both AEW, Redemption, and All In coming out of Beach Break. But I talk about all of the matches in our first episode of After the Bell. So please check that out after this video. The first thing we need to talk about is Willow Nightingale's return during the Casino Gauntlet match for the number 1 contender to Tekla's AEW Women's Championship to face Tekla at Redemption. Willow returned in the final minutes of the match and was able to win the match, and will face Tekla at Redemption, which is the next pay-per-view, which will be in the event section that we talk about on the next podcast, at least as the upcoming events. The other main storyline in play is for the AEW World Championship. During Beach Break, Kenny Omega challenged MJF for the AEW World Championship with his career on the line, and he won. So this is going to be a setup for Will Ospreay, who won the men's Owen Hart Cup at the last pay-per-view, and they'll face, Will face Kenny Omega at All In Wembley, unless something happens and Kenny loses the belt between now and then. But I don't see that happening, mostly because this has been kind of the dream match build for a while. Was a championship match between Kenny and Will. When you look at it, it makes sense. Now, granted, I do believe Will and MJF, 1, will eventually happen for a championship title, and 2, would be a banger match. This makes more sense from a storyline perspective because they've been trying to sell this since one of the first Forbidden Doors. Lastly, the last big important news that came out of, in my opinion, that came out of Beach Break is that Jungle Boy Jack Perry has officially re-signed with AEW, with the official announcement being made through a vignette package on Beach Break. Perry did voice his intentions to begin a program for the World Championship, which could be very interesting. Perry, at one point in time, was considered one of the 4 pillars of AEW. It was him, MJF, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara. All are still with the company. And I still believe they are all the 4 very important faces of the company. But now we have other wrestlers who are kind of carrying that load. Specifically, you've got Will Ospreay doing a lot for the company. So is Kyle Fletcher. So that's it. With Redemption set to take place on July 26th in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, it seems that Tony Khan and his team are setting to honor one of the legendary families from that Canadian province. AEW has intentions to honor the Rougeaus, one of the most famous Canadian wrestling families. In an interview with Bill Apter on the Apter Chat podcast, Jacques Rougeau stated that he and his brother Raymond were offered to be part of a package that honors their family at Redemption. Jacques stated that QT Marshall was taking the lead for AEW on the project, and that though Jacques does not exactly know what is in store through AEW and what they have planned, as far as honoring both him, his brother, as well as his legendary wrestling family, they are all very excited to be a part of it. And I think this is really cool because I grew up watching Jacques and Raymond Rougeau as a tag team as the Rougeaus in WWF, wrestling the Hearts. I remember Jacques Rougeau as the Mountie. Like Jacques is well deserved of the honors, as is his brother and as are their family. So very, very happy to hear that. As of July 11th, there has been some movement in the AEW roster at that night's Collision taking place in Roanoke, Virginia. AEW original Hangman Adam Page made his return since his loss at the Revolution pay-per-view to MJF. In a promo in the ring, Hangman recognized that he can't challenge for the AEW World Championship any longer, but there are plenty of titles that he can challenge for, and he intends to do so. He listed off nearly every mid-card title that is there, and just because he can't take the world title from AEW does not mean he can't become the men's champion in ROH. Just saying. Some associates of Page have also re-signed with AEW. The core of the Dark Order, Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds have signed new contracts with the company that they have called home for the last 7 years. Silver and Reynolds have been the most active as part of Ring of Honor. Have been the most active as part of the Ring of Honor roster as of late, but it's awesome to see these level balls are staying with the company. And Uno has been kind of doing his own thing with Mystery Wrestling, which is a really, really dope online wrestling thing. It's an independent, it's cheesy, it's campy, it's fantastic, and you really should check it out, whether live on Twitch or on YouTube. In other contract news, former TNT champion Scorpio Sky has not inked a new deal with AEW. Another Day One star from 2019, Scorpio has dealt with injuries holding him back just as main pushes have started. There's no news as to if he will get another contract or if he'll leave the company and try his luck elsewhere. Scorpio Sky was one of those guys that, as a tag team, was fantastic. As a trios member, was fantastic with SoCal, Frankie Kazarian, but even as an individual wrestler, he's a very, very talented wrestler. The issue I'm seeing is his injury history, as well as he's not a young buck anymore. Scorpio could do really good things in the right promotion. I would like to personally see him stay at AEW if there's a chance that he can do that. TNA is another rumored landing spot for him that could be very, very good for him, but with the way TNA has been the last couple of weeks, I'm very cautious to have anybody sign with them, to be completely honest, as far as any of my favorite wrestlers go. Before Beach Break, ticket sales for All In at Wembley were slow going, with Kenny Omega defeating MJF at Beach Break and claiming the AEW World Championship. It set a stone for Omega to face Will Ospreay. This announcement has helped spur on faster ticket sales, accompanied with a Ticketmaster deal that severely discounted tickets, and we're seeing a lot more tickets move, which is good. We're seeing a similar situation. We're going to talk about that when we get to the WWE news with SummerSlam tickets with their two-night event up in Minneapolis. I think some of the issue is the economy. I think there's less money per household for fun things. I also think AEW has ran All In at Wembley 3 of the last 4 years. I think it's time to try another venue, try another location, factor that into a rotation for All In, and do it every few years, every 5 years even. Now, granted, AEW is only a 7-year-old company, and I get it. Doing it at Wembley is super cool because Tony's dad owns it, or Tony's dad's company owns it, so they can do a lot more there. But what I'm worried about is it losing its luster. And I know they're talking about wanting to take All into SoFi. I know they want to do it back in Chicago again. I would love to see it up in Minneapolis. I would love to see it down in Texas. I think you could do big numbers at the Superdome in New Orleans. I think it could crush in Pennsylvania somewhere. I think it would do really well, obviously, in Florida. So they have options. They could also go to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. They can go to Portland, Oregon, and Seattle. They have a lot of options, and there's a lot of mainstay wrestling communities that would love to have that kind of event in their building, in their locale. So I'm hoping we're going to see more of that. And I'm hoping we'll also start seeing a little bit more of a tour structure. Granted, they're not stopping touring. I want them to come back to Iowa so I can see them again. I missed the last time they were in Collision with the town. And Dynamite hasn't been back in the area in a few years. So, yeah. But AEW is shaping up to have a good end of summer pay-per-view. They're shaping up to finish 2026 in a really strong position as far as the number 2 goes for professional wrestling. That's my opinion anyway. Looking at the numbers, looking at what they've released as far as earning calls, they're making money every year, and they're increasing the amount of money that they're making. And because they're privately held and they don't have to hold themselves to investors, a lot of that money is going back into care for their wrestlers and contracts and medical and travel expenses. They have very few independent contractors working for them. The ones that are your ones that just aren't on contract as far as your regular contract signings. Everything else, the way they've done business since they started, has been exemplary in how wrestling should be, especially in 2026, as far as medical goes, as far as your employees listed as, W-2 employees, and they get retirement benefits and setting that kind of thing up, taking care of your travel expenses and your health expenses and your layover expenses for your talent. There's a lot of talent whose lives have changed that wouldn't necessarily have been in the same position if WWE would have been the only game in town. So that's one of my pitches for the fact that the AEW has an existence and has at least as an alternative, not a competitor, is necessary in professional wrestling these days. All right, time for WWE news and rumors, of course. Per Fightful Select, as of July 8th, former WWE NIL wrestler and standout NCAA Division I wrestler from the University of Nebraska, AJ Ferrari, has been arrested, with charges ranging from third-degree assault by strangulation, third-degree domestic violence, and first-degree false imprisonment. The former college standout is being held on a $200,000 bond. He is set to return to court on August 13th and cannot contact the victim as per the conditions of his bond. If I remember correctly, he did bond out. I know Ferrari was on that list of college athletes that were more than likely possibly going to sign with the WWE and go through developmental, much like Gable Stevenson had, and we all saw how well that worked out. He's now fighting in the UFC, so I guess his contract for TKO is still valid. I have opinions on Mr. Stevenson, but we're not going to talk about that. It seems the Second City Saint and the American Nightmare have a date with Destiny. During the opening of the July 10th episode of SmackDown, Cody Rhodes officially challenged CM Punk to a match for the undisputed WWE Championship at SummerSlam. Remember, this is the championship that Cody lost to Sami Zayn in Riyadh. Punk agreed to the match, and all signs point to this match absolutely being on the card for one of the two nights of SummerSlam. Now, nothing's been officially announced, and I have a feeling we're going to get that announcement on Monday Night Raw. I, however, wanted to get ahead of that, and we can talk about that on the podcast once that news breaks. On the July 10th episode of SmackDown, Baron Corbin returned during a United States Championship match between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, attacking both young competitors. Now, Baron Corbin, before he was released in 2024, had a program with Carmelo Hayes. So it's very interesting that they're starting his return off with one of the same competitors and wrestlers that were one of his last feuds. Corbin has been wrestling in the Indies as Bishop Dyer since his departure from WWE in late 2024, making a short stop for a dark match in AEW. The Lone Wolf spent a majority of his time tagging with Dijak, formerly of NXT, where Corbin and Dijak held the Major League Wrestling Tag Team Championship as an updated version of the Skyscrapers. It has been rumored for weeks that Baron Corbin would be returning to WWE soon, but the timeline for his return was unclear until last week, when MLW forced him to relinquish his half of the tag titles. Ticket sales for SummerSlam for the SummerSlam 2-night event taking place in Minneapolis, Minnesota on August 1st and 2nd are not good. Ticket prices are high for the event, which could impact the buy rate for the event, especially considering the current economic state. With current confirmed matches on the card being Roman Reigns defending his WWE Heavyweight Championship against Seth Rollins, Obafemi facing Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell match, and Liv Morgan defending her WWE's Women's Championship against Queen of the Ring Io Sky. The card itself should be action-packed with potential matches, with Penta defending the Intercontinental Championship, undisputed WWE Championship CM Punk potentially facing Cody Rhodes, and a grudge match between Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair that kind of has been slow burning for most of the year. Other dream matches are being speculated by the dirt sheets and the internet wrestling community, but nothing is set in stone until WWE confirms. So, much like AEW's All In at the end of August having some issues initially selling tickets, we are seeing a very similar story with WWE. Some of it could be the fact that it's a 2-night event. SummerSlam was a single night event until last year. They're kind of making it a bookend big event, and it kind of always has been. The summer's WrestleMania. It's about 6 months difference between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. SummerSlam as a 2-night event has such a huge impact on the local town that it is. There are significantly more events now in Minneapolis going on in regards to wrestling than I would suspect there would be if it was a singular day event. Now, what I don't understand is the pricing for the tickets has not gone down significantly. They have discounted some, and they're still discounting more, but those tickets are like severe nosebleeds. The last estimate I saw is they had only sold 22,000 tickets for each night, which is nowhere near the capacity of the arena, the football stadium, the NFL-sized stadium in Minneapolis that they are hosting the event in. I hope business picks up because I want shows to be good, especially for the talent. I don't necessarily care for TKO or the overseers in WWE, but I don't want the talent to miss out on paydays, because the talent is what it's about for me, the way they tell the stories and the way they do their jobs, right? And nobody should have work stoppage because their bosses don't know how to properly promote or properly sell tickets, in my opinion. As of the July 11th episode of Lucha Libre AAA, it is being reported by multiple outlets, including Cage Side Seats and Fightful Select, that the AAA Latin American Championship has been vacated by El Hijo del Vikingo. Apparently, while preparing for an upcoming match at NXT, Vikingo injured his knee. WWE and the AAA General Manager Rey Mysterio announced that the championship was vacant. This was said Vikingo's manager Dorian Roldan, who had intended to pass the championship on to his other client, Omos. Vikingo had won the Latin American Championship when he faced El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. at Noches de los Grandes Night 1 on May 30th. Now, we did talk about that match and that event back when our first episode of Turnbuckle Tuesdays of the podcast. Some of the interesting things that have also come out about this: it appears that Damian Priest is going to challenge for this belt, and they might be setting up a match between Damian Priest and Omos on the Vernos card, which could be interesting. I would like to see someone hold it and then have a match at Triple Mania for it. AAA is getting very interesting with some of their storylines, and I don't like seeing anybody get hurt. I hope Vikingo gets the surgery that he needs, is able to go through his PT and OT and get back to wrestling. I really, really hope that it doesn't diminish his ability in the ring. He might have to take it slower for a while, but I really, really hope the surgery goes well and we see him back in the boots and back on the mat as soon as he's able to, as soon as he's healthy. Because that's what matters. In TNA news, as of July 8th, the future for Mike Santana still seems unclear. A cryptic post on his own X account listed the date 7/15 and no explanation beyond that. Many in the pro wrestling world are speculating as to what is coming for the former TNA World Champion. It is expected that Santana will not re-sign with TNA and move on to another company, with most of the speculation being that Santana will have a short stint in NXT before joining the main roster of WWE. Some have theorized that July 15th is the final day of his TNA contract, whereas others have speculated that Mike Santana will show up at an AEW taping in Boston on that day. It does seem unlikely that Santana would return to AEW after finishing with TNA, but that remains to be seen. We don't know what's going on with this situation. I have actually been trying to keep track of what's going on with this. I stay off of X for the most part, unless I absolutely need to, or something is super breaking and that's the quickest way I can get news on it. But I do read through Fightful Select almost daily, at least their headlines. I also check out Cage Side and Pro Wrestling Insider when I get a chance. But Fightful Select, even though, dear God, the amount of ads on that is like being on an adult website in the late 90s. It's a good, the way they have it stacked is really good, because they can take one interview, like if a person does a 3-hour interview on a podcast, they will break it up into the subject matter for a certain part and break that down for easier digestion when it comes to talking about topics. Now, here's the thing with Mike. Mike Santana wrestled in AEW from beginning in 2019. He came in and he was really, really good. And he was partnered with Ortiz, and they were part of Jericho's group. And I don't know exactly what happened between Santana and the organization, or Santana and Ortiz, but he went to TNA and really showed what Mike Santana was as a wrestler. As a singles competitor, he was bigger, he was faster, he was stronger. And there's a reason why they put their primary belt on. There's a reason why he was world champion in TNA. It's because they needed him as face of the company. I believe he has the ability to do that in any company that he happens to put pen to paper to. Whether it's WWE as one of the new faces of the company or return to AEW. I believe he is going to show up on NXT within probably the next 2 months. And it's going to be a very short stint. He's probably going to wrestle Tony D'Angelo for the NXT Championship, hold it for 6 weeks, get called up for something, or be brought in as a surprise for something in the main roster, and he is going to do really, really well in the main roster. I think he'll do better than some of the other TNA call-ups. Now, granted, some of the other TNA call-ups have had to deal with injury. Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, they've all had to deal with injury of some way, shape, or form. And Jordan Grace spent a lot of time in NXT, but Joe Hendry did not. It seems that TNA is a nice transition into NXT into WWE. So we shall see. I think Mike is going to be fine. I think he is going to do amazing things no matter where he lands as a wrestler. And I really, really hope he makes the decision that he feels is best for him and does not have to deal with any of the pressure from the IWC or anything else. So that's my 2 cents on it. NWA. We reported last week on the podcast that NWA Power had officially been signed for distribution with Tubi, and I spent, since the announcement, every day trying to find it. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. And then 2 days ago, boom, it's there. So, Power is now available on Tubi, as we previously reported. 11 back episodes for season 27 are available, with new episodes added every Thursday. I have no idea if seasons 1 through 26 are going to be added. I didn't know there were 26 seasons. That means NWA Power probably goes back to 1999. Oh boy, I would like to see some of those matches. I would really like to see some of those matches. But another wrestling show is now available for wrestling fans to watch on a service that is free. There is nothing wrong with that. That is amazing in my opinion. And that's the way it should be. Maybe not for free. We should pay for some of our wrestling content. But the more availability to watch wrestling product, the better it is for everyone involved. I have said this time and time again. You do not want a monopoly or an oligarchy when it comes to professional wrestling. You do not want one company only producing wrestling content. You want to be able to have as many companies paying as many wrestlers as much money as they can, because that's when wrestling gets good. That's when wrestling is fantastic. That's when people care about it. And the ability to have NWA Power on Tubi helps move that agenda along. A little bit more wrestling content related. From the indies, we have some big distribution news. As we talked about on the July 7th podcast, My AEW is starting to build a list of major independent wrestling promotions that the site will host content for. Now, Scott D'Amore's Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling out of Canada have a weekly show, MLP Mayhem, available on the site with new episodes every Thursday. This is huge, and MyAEW.com seems to be becoming a go-to destination for modern indie promotions to find new audiences. The first episode of Mayhem should be available starting July 17th. This is awesome. So Scott D'Amore was president of TNA Impact for a long time, until just after they rebranded from Impact back to TNA. He's also a former professional wrestler, and he was a TNA day oneer. Like he started under Jeff Jarrett. And he has such a passion for professional wrestling, both as a former wrestler and as an executive. And he is one of those guys that will put a product out there that people are going to enjoy seeing. I can't wait to check it out. I'm going to see if I can access it on my AEW.com. Maybe we'll have a watch party on the Discord if you want to join it. But I, again, cannot stress enough the access and availability of pro wrestling content on a widespread scale does wonders for the industry, both as fans and for the wrestlers. Now, granted, if I won $1 billion, I would not invest in a professional wrestling company. Who am I kidding? I probably would, but that's neither here nor there. It's hard to run a wrestling company and make money. It's a very bloodthirsty, cutthroat industry from an executive perspective. When there's more companies out there that more talent can go to and wrestle at, that are producing more content for fans to see and to watch and consume, it is significantly better, in my opinion, for everyone involved. Your wrestlers make more money. You have the availability to reach more households, making your Canadian independent promotion a household name. You're now in league with some of the biggest companies outside of GCW, MLW, Fourth Rope, and House of Glory, with the number 2 promotion in the country on their content site. Yeah, I'm sure Tony's making a little bit of money off of that. Great. Fantastic. But I'm also sure that Tony wants as much wrestling out there as possible because he knows it's good for the wrestlers. It's good for the fans. And it's really good for the executives. Maybe not so much the shareholders, but I can only think of one company that has to worry about shareholders at this point. Maybe 2. Maybe 2 with Anthem owning TNA, but 1 for sure. But that's it, everybody. Thank you for hanging out for episode 1 of Turnbuckle Tuesdays News and Rumors Roundup. We're going to be doing this every off week when we don't have a live podcast. So there are some times we're going to see back-to-back episodes every week. Make sure to check out After the Bell and our previous 2 episodes of the podcast. And I'll see everybody next week on Tuesday for the podcast for episode 3. Thanks again.